dementia, feeds on itself. Estelle was the least established of any of them.
Yeah, so all the other three had done sitcoms for years.
They knew how to do it.
They changed lines that day. Estelle was used to doing theater. In theater, you do the same script and rehearse it day after day, and you do it months and months and months. So she was not into this, what do you mean we're changing a line in the middle of a scene? And so it was, and she would call me and say, I'm in therapy like 2 or 3 times a week, and I just felt awful for her.
But then the thing is, when you have stage fright, you psych yourself out. You tell yourself you're going to screw up, and then you do screw up, and then it makes you screw up more. And the irony is that she would write her lines on things, and there was one famous scene I remember that Nina was telling me, who was a producer on the early seasons, and her first day on the show, they were filming the episode A Day in the Life of Sophia Petrillo, where, if you remember, the 3 other women are sitting on the couch watching I Love Lucy and saying, oh, poor Ma, she's so old, she doesn't get around. And meanwhile, the joke is that Sophia is running circles around them, and she's out doing charity work, and she's shopping. And Estelle didn't like that episode, first of all, because she had so much to do in it, and she hated having to memorize all that stuff. So she was panicked about the episode anyway. And so in the scene where she's in the supermarket, and she's standing in front of a stack of, I think it's either grapefruit or oranges, she had written her lines on the fruit. And the problem is, as for the producers in the booth, when they're watching the filming, they can tell she's reading the fruit. They can see her eyeline and she's going like this. And so they sent this young producer, Nina, over to talk to Estelle and tell her that we're going to take your fruit away, we're going to move it and whatever. And Estelle panicked, like, don't move my fruit. But the other thing
I say that all the time.
Yeah, don't move my fruit. And they talked her down and they got her through the scene. But the other thing that I thought was so interesting, and it says so much about what stage fright is and how it's really is psyching yourself out, that a lot of times if you look at the tablecloths they used, Estelle would write her lines on the tablecloth, and that they actually kept a whole rack of tablecloths in an area they called the Bermuda Triangle, which is right behind that rack. You know where the recycling rack is when they come in the kitchen? It's on the left. There's a little triangle there where the sets meet, that there's nothing behind them, and they would keep a rack of tablecloths there. But they would often obviously keep using the same tablecloths as people do in real life. And they'd take out a tablecloth and it would have an Estelle line from whatever episode she had written it. And they always wondered how she avoided, because she never did this, saying the wrong line from the wrong show, from an old show. And then the point they made was, if she can remember where on the tablecloth she wrote this week's lines versus last week's lines or whatever, why can't she just remember the lines? But it's about how you psych yourself out.
Season 1, I feel like we knew that she couldn't handle long monologues. So if you'll notice, we give her those lines at the end of scenes. So I always picture her like a baseball player, and she would hit them over the fence every fucking single time.
The punchline.
You just the punchline would be like, you hear the crack of it, and it was like, boom, leave the scene and then. And that's a problem I have in life, because now I can't leave a room or place without a joke. And so it's an occupational hazard. You'll see, I'll do it tonight. He has a pause question.
I want to ask Stan, can you please tell the room
While this is on, I will.
Yeah.
I'm keeping my clothes on tonight. Yeah.
the episodes that you're famously known for writing the classic line deliveries for? Some of them, if you can just roll them off, just some of the most famous ones that you're responsible for. We would love to hear that.
Yes.
Great question.
No Blanche in dog ears. Yeah. No, I will not have a nice day. So it's on mugs and things. And
Yes.
There are 2 no's, so please don't post 1 no, or you'll hear from me online. Yes. I haven't been in that position since I gave birth. Stopping from living is like stopping from dying. The flu, I wrote the flu episode when she had, you know that one, right?
Yes!
Yeah, so what did she say with the, under the...
I'd like to know what else is plugged in under that blanket.
Yeah, there you go.
I know, I put you on the
The
spot.
blanket thing, all that. Kiss My A, adult education. You sir, I'm a lady, and you can kiss my A. Just a few. Sure, Jan.
And we want to also acknowledge you were part of the Brady Bunch as a writer for the Brady Bunch parody,
Both
the movie.
Yeah, both of them.
And did you write the line, Sure, Jan, was that you?
Who knew that we'd be using it so much politically today? But, okay.
That's amazing.
Right?
Amazing.
Jesus fucking Christ. Every day we gotta wake up to this shit. I just want to wake up and wake up. Maybe go to the bathroom, but not like fucking is the world still.
That's why, I mean, the Golden Girls, it's getting more popular, but also as the world gets worse.
It's comfort.
It's comfort. And so many people tell me I watch it at 11 o'clock instead of the news. That's how I drift off to sleep because it's peaceful.
I turned off the news in September. I'm done with legacy media and all that bullshit. But yes, it's comfort. And you know at the end of the day, no matter where they stand, politically or personally, they're going to be friends. And that's something I feel like we need more today.
You're here to that, right? So I have a question.
One more?
One more question. So tell us each, so you've written books on the Golden Girls, so what inspired you, what prompted you to actually dive that deep into it and write your books?
That's how I met Jim, was you were writing your book. Very first you came to
Stan was one of my very first interviews for this
when I
book.
gave you a bunch of names, and were there emails back then?
There were emails back then, but yes, you were running. I had seen Stan on Situation Comedy.
A Bravo TV series that Charmaine's produced. I was the host showrunner, and it was Andy Cohen's first job. And a year ago, I was the bartender on Watch What Happens Live to promote my book.
Yes. Woo!
There you go. Didn't Andy Cohen just have nudes? Someone posted nudes. Did anybody hear the story? Anybody have it? I'll pay you $10.
Kathy Griffin!
I'll give you a free book if you have.
Kathy Griffin posted them.
No, but I just saw on TikTok or something that some twink date he had, revenge porn, posted nudes of Andy Cohen. Is this true? Somebody pull up your phone and do some work. Come on. You in the back there. I have a feeling you're all on that right now. You're probably jerking off to Andy Cohen right this second. How dare you? I'm so offended. You're more than me?
Wow, that's fun.
Okay. Oh, whatever.
I would say that the thing that made me want to do this.
Yeah, that brings up here.
Wow!
What's your name? Brad. Jesus, how cute is he? I'm going to send it to Andy. There we go. Let's do a selfie. So the other one, that one down there. This one there? Okay, do it. Okay, come on. Take a picture. No, show the picture.
I can't show that on Facebook Live.
Let's do it. There we go. It's okay. Where are you from? Canada. Where? It's a big country. We're trying to own in about 5
Is it the?
I mean, it's going to be a big 51st state.
There we go. Turn it around. Nothing but time. Never done a selfie before.
Woo! Got it.
I'm sending it to I'm sending it to Andy.
Thank you.
That was hard to do.
Yeah, tell us. Well, that's hard to follow that. I would just say that as
That's a question.
I think it was why did we write these books?
Yeah.
I didn't even answer that.
Well, go ahead. You answer.
I did because everybody kept saying, as a man, how could you write all these shows for women? So that's why I wanted to answer that question.
And I was writing for TV Guide, and I always wanted to write a book about a TV show that I loved because being old, I remember before the internet when there was no good source of information about shows you loved. And sometimes there would be a book about shows, but it would often be written really kind of quickly and not very smartly. And so I thought if any show deserved the attention that I wanted to give it, it was the Golden Girls. Now, I ended up getting an assignment to write a book about Will and Grace first, which was great because that would have been my second choice of things to write.
And now, aren't you doing one now? Can we talk about it? No?
The Love Boat?
Yeah, there we go.
Woo! Yes.
But oddly, it was the first spec script I wrote.
Really?
Which I should give it to you, which I thought was easy because it was only
Only a few beats.
it was only 15 pages.
You're right. So after writing about Will and Grace, to make this short, after writing about Will and Grace, I did get a chance to say, okay, what's the show I'd want to do? And it would be Golden Girls. And the women weren't getting any younger. This was 2006, and I thought if anybody's ever going to give them the attention and preserve these stories, it has to be right now. So that's what I did.
And
Amazing.
Thank God you did it. We have it all.
Amazing.
Okay. Any questions? Besides you and that?
I have one more question.
Oh, what do you want to do?
What happened to Coco?
Have you ever heard what the answer is? Okay.
So when this is going to be hard to believe because I didn't believe it, but NBC, well, to back up a little bit, NBC is the ones who came up with the idea for the Golden Girls. It doesn't usually happen that way. It usually starts with a writer going to the network. In this case, the network approached Paul Witt and Tony Thomas and Susan Harris and said, we want to do a show about old women in Miami. This is the part that seems pretty not credible to me, although everybody swears to it, that in that concept they wanted a gay man. And the reason I say that's not very credible is 1985, they were still so afraid of the gay thing.
I think it was the next step after Soap.
Yes, and they knew Susan would do it. That's true.
Pushing the envelope just slightly more.
And Susan had already given us Jodie Dallas on Soap, so they knew she could do it. So it was baked into the concept from the beginning. The thing that ended up happening was they also brought in, of course, Estelle as Sophia, who was meant to be a recurring character, and all through the production week, everybody was noticing, oh my God, she gets monster laughs. And tape night, she got incredible laughs that they didn't want to cut. And they said to themselves, we have to have her be a regular. Now we have 5 regulars to serve in 22 minutes. It's going to be hard to fit them all in stories. And when you think about it, part of the reason, supposedly, that the women live together is that they have to do it out of financial need. So how are they affording this houseboy who lives there? And then practically... Houseboy, that's what they call him. And then in more practical purposes, actresses like to be able to have bits of business to do in the scene. They don't want to just sit there and talk. They want to chop vegetables or be sweeping or whatever. And so that's, well, if you have Coco doing that,
sweeping, but
okay,
chopping some
vegetables. So if you had Coco doing all the housework, now they're trapped at the table. And so just for a lot of practical reasons, they thought we don't have enough room for him. He doesn't really make sense.
And just so you know, in the writer's room, I did pitch episodes because I felt like you did, like what happened to him. So I very much like the reality of Norman Lear's shows. It's like, can't we explain or give him like a reason?
Or bring him back for an episode. Would have been great.
Yeah. Bring him back, or he becomes cruise director on the Love Boat. Something. They were like, no, don't mention him again. No one will ever think of him again. And here we are 40 fucking years later and you asked the question, of course. But the dick pics there.
If you watch the pilot, you'll notice that it's very strange how little he's in it, and that in that very first scene of the pilot, Dorothy comes in complaining about being a substitute teacher, and she's complaining to Coco, and we haven't met Sophia, Rose, or Blanche yet. And so they couldn't cut Coco from that scene because literally Dorothy was talking only to him. So they had to keep him there, but they cut him out of as much of the rest of the pilot as they could, including reshooting some stuff. And so it's very weird when he's in the pilot and when he's not. He almost seems to disappear behind the couch and you never see him again.
He could have been a passenger in the same car as Beverly LaSalle. Right?
Or just in their imagination. Anybody else? You must have something. You know everything. You walked in saying lines from the show. So what do you want to know?
Oh, here we go.
You were there firsthand. You tell us.
Season 1, they were all on their best behavior. It was very exciting. Nobody thought this show would ever work. It's a show about older people in Miami. So they were on their best behavior. But they have different styles. So B comes from the theater where you stay in character. And Betty was, they say, when television cameras were turned on, there she was.
It's true.
Yeah. So, Life with...
Oh, even before Life with Elizabeth, like experimental television in the 30s. Betty was,
Yes.
So when Estelle would fuck up with the line, Betty would make a joke and walk up to the audience and kind of make fun of her. So being a friend of Estelle's, I was like, God damn it, I was like really protective of Estelle. Now I look at it as that she was diverting attention, possibly diverting attention.
I took it that way. I went to a taping in season 7, so obviously this has been going on for a while. And I remember when Estelle messed up a line, Betty went up to the audience and went, and everybody laughed.
I know,
I thought it took the heat off Estelle, but I understand that she
if you're
would.
Estelle and you're watching that, or you're Estelle's manager, or Estelle's family, that's gotta hurt. And I know because Estelle would talk to me about it. So,
yeah, I can. I mean, in
B
the audience, I didn't.
B was not happy that she was breaking character, because in her mind, as an actress, you stay in character. And the fact that Betty could do that so easily, just turn it off, go up, make jokes, improv, and then go back into it, I think kind of pissed.
They were so different in a lot of ways. Temperament, they were completely
But they were
opposite.
professionals, and they knew they had a good gig, and they were not going to fuck that up.
And in season 1, you were there, I remember you telling me about this, that they, in a way, bonded because they lost their mothers 2 weeks in a row.
In my episode, Rose's mother, it's all about mothers, and Bea lost her mother during the week, and they were going to cancel the filming of it. And Bea comes from theater, and the show must go on. And she said, I'm not going to have all the crew and everybody be out of money. We're going to film the show. So if you watch that scene with Estelle and Bea, and Bea thanks Estelle for, or Estelle thanks Bea for treating her like a woman and not like a kid. I can't watch that without getting very emotional and like the hair on my arm stand up, because knowing that Bea is thinking about her own mother passing a few days earlier. It's really,
Wow.
Yeah, it's a beautiful scene.
Wow.
It adds another layer.
We're gonna have to go back and watch that.
Why didn't you play that? What was wrong with you?
I know.
You're so busy with the real Brady Bunch. I love, come on. Eat plum, right?
Anybody else?
Anything else?
One more
Yeah.
question. One more question.
I might be a little late to the party, and I've got a few more teas, but I do have a question.
Yes, okay.
So, rumor has that they're going to make a Golden Girls version of Your Palm Springs about gay men.
Oh, good question.
I would like to be
March 28th on Hulu.
Repeat the question.
Yeah, we're not going to discuss that, but
I'm going to say what it is. I'm going to say what it is.
Repeat
No, I don't
the.
want to talk about that.
But
We're
re-
not going to talk about I wrote a play, a gay men's Golden Girls
Yes.
called Silver Foxes.
That is
which
what we
is
really
going to
should talk
premiere in Palm Springs. I can't say when, but soon. We did a very famous reading, you can Google it, with George Takei, the late Leslie Jordan. We did write it for him, Sherry O'Terry, Melissa Peterman, Todd Sherry, Bruce Valanche, all in my fucking living room. So it's about gay men living in Palm Springs. We did it in Dallas, the world premiere, and Michael Urie from Ugly Betty and Shrinking directed it.
I wrote one too, honestly, but Stan's...
Came to that reading.
I didn't come to that reading.
No, you came to
No,
one.
but I wrote a Gay Golden Girls in Palm Springs too. It's actually a great idea, so a lot of people have tried it. But Stan has had his produced as a play, which is amazing.
And it's been done in Columbus, Ohio, and will be done in Ferndale, Michigan in October. But here, hopefully before the end of the year, I'll be bugging all of you, and I hope to see you all there.
But television-wise, there is something coming. I won't. If
Yay!
Stan's gonna kick me, I won't tell you about it. But just look, March 28th on Hulu.
Well, thank you guys. Thank you all.
We want to thank each and every one of you for being here
Jim
tonight.
Colucci, Stan Zimmerman. Thank you, boys.
Thank you, boys. Stan, let's give a warm round of applause for Stan Zimmerman, Jim Colucci,
Colucci, Stan
his
Zimmerman.
husband, Frank DeCaro, who's here,
Frank.
who just released his book, Disco, and we're going to do something soon about his disco book, and maybe playing something at the Mary Pickford Theater. So log on to our website, www.thefilmmakersgallery.org, to learn more. Thank you guys so much. Let's thank the
Thank you, guys.
bartenders behind the bar, Steven and Steven. And
Steven.
Eva, David up there in the booth. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dave.
We'll see you next week. Same time, same bat channel. Enjoy the rest of your night.